Hey everybody, it's Friday afternoon, turning into Friday evening. I wish I could say that this is the last call of the day. It actually is the last call of the day, so I can't say that. It won't be the last call of the weekend. The weekend will be full of calls as well. Something happened, and I don't quite know what it is, but when I put out this post that I was having 50 conversations with 50 strangers, it ignited something in people. And what I found in having these conversations, which are now been hundreds and hundreds of conversations now, is that there's something about talking to a stranger that people feel more comfortable than talking to somebody that they know. And that intrigued me a little bit until I thought, okay, there I am. My wife has said to me, look at all the time you give to people you don't know, and I wish you would give a little more time to me. And so I do get it, from even inside my own home. And I say, boy, I'm so sorry, and I want to give you more time, and I want to be with you more, and I want to, and we do, and we've sort of altered that course a little bit. But when I started to think about it, I started to understand it a little bit, because somehow my only objective in this room is to love and accept people, to listen to them and hear them, and to acknowledge them for what they're saying and validate that they're saying it. I'm 65 years old. In my entire life, nobody's ever said to me, Danny, I need you to agree with me. When they felt loved and accepted, listened to and heard, acknowledged and validated, they know I have my own crazy beliefs. And some of my best friends have the widest, most verklempt beliefs you'd ever imagine. But I still love them. And so what perplexes me a little bit is how we've become a world where what you believe makes me cancel you out. Because that isn't who you are. What you believe is only what you believe. Like for some of my friends, I would take a bullet for them and I would never believe half of the things they believe because I love them, just because I love them, not because of what they believe or don't believe. And so I wanted to create a space, this room being it, where people had a little tiny peephole or window into a world where the world doesn't work the way they see it on the news. The two strangers could come into a room not knowing anything about one another and put down what the things are that separate them and sort of just talk together. I haven't had one fight in this room. I haven't had one confrontation. I haven't had one person leave mad. Because when people feel loved and accepted and listened to and heard and acknowledged and validated, it's good. And so I hope that this will leak out through this room, underneath the door, out through the windows, into the world at large, and we'll start to do this together. And it doesn't take a college degree. It doesn't take an ordination of some sort. All it takes is enough care and concern to say to somebody who you haven't met before, hey, how are you? And to listen to their response. Before we go too far and I get carried away in the monologue of me, I don't want to do that. I just want to say that the show is being sponsored by the Mosaic. And I'm happy for that because the Mosaic's the book that I wrote. The story is really charming, but what I'm realizing is I've always talked about the space between the words and what that means. And I don't know if it's because people are hearing me on the show or hearing these conversations or just because my energy is growing, but people are starting to tap into me and the words that I said and the quality of my voice, and they're starting to contact me from distant places. I don't even know that they exist, and telling me of experiences of openings that they're having, and things that are opening up. So I don't know. I mean, I like the shoemaker in my book, The Mosaic, who makes shoes for people, and his shoes change, have miracles in them. And he says some people say they do, and other people say they don't. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm just making shoes for you to fit you. I'm just holding the space in this room to love and accept people. But if it happens for you, come and take all you want. There's so much energy here. There's so much energy in this being that is called Danny Levin. There's so much energy in the world around me that you can't deplete it, because the more you take, the more that comes in. You just make room for more fresh new energy to come in. And so I invite you, if you feel so inclined, come and take whatever you want from this room. It's yours. You don't have to steal it. You don't have to feel bad. I offer it to you. Just receive it. With that being said, I put away my little shoebox from Hyde Park in London, England, where people just sit in the park and talk and give philosophy lectures. I tuck away the sponsor of my book, The Mosaic. Of course, if you like the story of the Mosaic, they would love you to buy a copy. It would make them happy. And I want to invite now into this room Dina Ziskin-Fortune. I know Dina a little bit, but I don't know her well. And so when she asked if she could come in the room, I was thrilled to have her come in. Dina, welcome to the conversation. How are you?
Great, thank you. How are you?
You don't want to hear, because I'm not going to answer great, thank you. I'm going to actually tell you
I'm
how I
grateful.
am. I'm going to tell you how I am. So let me do what I do sometimes in this room, because I want to set the tone in the way that I really want to set it. How are you sort of become a salutation in our language. It's like, hi, how are you? And we say fine, great. And most of the people just say good, and we go on. But we're going through a time in the world that's unprecedented. We're going through a global pandemic that's isolating us and keeping us quarantined. We're going through a race riots, protests, civil rights movements. We're going through a Me Too movement where women are saying, I don't want to be treated like that anymore, that you don't have the right to treat me like that. Blacks are saying, you don't have the right to treat me like that. We're watching some of our institutions that have been what we've built our life upon crumble before our eyes. We're watching businesses go out of business and to never reopen. I just read that 2 big hotels, one in LA and one in New York, have closed permanently because they couldn't afford to pay their mortgage. And what's happened is they've closed down forever, and they believe it's just the tip of the iceberg. That the hospitality industry won't be able to maintain itself with nobody traveling and nobody staying in hotels. We're only on the beginning of what seems like something that we're experiencing. And so when I ask you with all that in mind, how are you? How are you now?
It's been a mixed bag. I am basically a multitude of emotions that just, right now I'm in a happy place. And right now I'm full of joy, I'm full of gratitude for like this present moment. And, in an hour, I could be feeling something different. Um, and that's, I feel what's been going on is I'm a feeler. I'm definitely a feeler. And so even if I'm not experiencing something, I am an empath. So I feel what is happening in the collective.
Yeah.
So it's like right now, I'm very focused on this moment right now, this opportunity. And yet throughout the day, I could be feeling emotions from out of the blue because I'm also a channeler. So, that goes into so many other topics, but which is why I also really love the book, The Mosaic, because I love what you said in the beginning because I resonate with everything that you say.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
So Dina was kind enough to buy the Mosaic, and she showed me she had the copy there. So thank you for doing that. You're there. She's showing. There you go. The sponsors are smiling now. Uh, so I want to just take a moment and let the audience become aware of what's obvious, but I just don't want to make it be so obvious that we pass over. Dina's first answer was fine, good, great, right? I'm fine, I'm good, right? But when someone took the time to just say, hey, hold on, how are you? How are you? I really do care. It's more than a salutation. It's an invitation for you to tell me how you're doing. Did you hear how rich the response was then? Did you hear how real it was? Do you hear how, even though we don't know each other all that well, the information that she communicated, the vulnerability that she shared, the opportunity that she gave to just share of something that's really important to her. And how are you doing as you're listening to this? If you had the opportunity to tell somebody how you're really doing, what would you say? So I just want you to be a part of this conversation and answer the questions as we ask them for yourself as a listener. And you can write them in the column below. You can do anything you want, right? I'm interested in, if you can, identify what allows you to be completely absorbed in this moment, in this conversation, and be happy and excited. And what allows you then in the next moment not to feel the same thing. And I get that you're an empath and you feel people. But what changes?
That's a great question. It's thoughts sometimes that come in, or it could be a communication, it could be a message I receive. I mean, mostly what changes is coming from the external. And then it's an opportunity to look at it and choose how to respond to it. But I could also allow myself to be like, oh, that's not, feel whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's usually either a thought that comes from nowhere, or it's a message. Yeah, usually.
Yeah. So, sort of a long story to ask a short question. I'm an empath too. I feel all the things. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I would watch myself get caught. I mean, I can tell you a story of it happening to me. It was the time I was walking down the street one day, and somehow I felt everybody. So I walked past a woman, and I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. And it hurt so much, and it was pounding. And then half a minute later, it disappeared because this woman walked past me. And then I was walking further, and I had a sharp pain in my back. And I thought, what the heck is this? Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what's going on? And I saw this guy walk past, and 10 seconds after he passed me, my pain in the back was gone. And then another person came, and my knee buckled under me. And I fell to the ground because of how much pain was in my knee. And he walked past me, limping past me, and I was fine. I got up and was fine, no pain in the knee. So I get that we feel feelings of other people and actually feel body pains and all sorts of things from people. And somewhere along the line, what I said to myself is, I'm gonna be in real serious trouble if I continue to hold this in my body. I just have to let it, just like I'm an empath and it can come in, I just have to open the door and let it come out. Like I can feel what I feel, but just let it just keep going right on out. That's exactly that movement. I love it. And so if you're able to do that, what changes then from going happy to sad to being confused to being caught up? Because when I did that, now I can walk through the street and I can say, oh, I see it. There's pain in my knee. Let it go.
Because now it's like, oh, where's that from? Is that me, or is that from someone else? Like, I can know to ask the questions.
Cool.
And so, yeah, I remember being in a place before I really knew I was an empath. I was in a huge conference and I was just crying I was crying randomly because I was feeling everybody's excitement and all these different things. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then finally I was like, okay, I'm just going to roll with it and I'm just going to let myself cry. And I'm just gonna feel the feels and just let them go. But that was when I really knew I was an empath. But letting it, like observing it, is and being like, oh, is that mine or is that from someone else, is how to be able to let it flow. And I'm grateful that I had that experience, because then I was able to um, I was able to um, you know, grow from that.
By the
So,
way, Dina's a painter, and the painting you just saw, and when something happened to her phone, was one of her paintings. So when you see an
oh yeah,
interruption
my
like that,
phone.
when you see an
Yeah,
interruption like that, be happy because you're seeing some of her artwork.
I just realized that my battery is on low and I forgot to grab my charger. So
Uh-oh.
that's why they came up.
Do you need to grab your charger now?
I might need to, yeah, but if I don't, that message will keep coming up.
So do you want to take a minute and just go get
So
it?
yeah, can I what do I do? Just stop the video for a second and grab it?
Or you can keep the video going and just grab it.
Okay, I'll be right back.
So it's interesting for those of us sitting here waiting for Dina's phone to charge. Where in life does your charger go out? Right? Where are you all ready to do the event that you're ready to do, and then suddenly your charger goes out, or your energy falls. And so how do you deal with that? And it's okay. Like we think everything has to be perfect, and we have to make it that the hour has to go perfectly, but that's not life. Life happens. And if we give each other the space to just fix what it is we need to fix, then we don't have to worry about now the power's charging, and she'll be set for the rest of the call, right?
Yeah, that's so funny. The topic of the perfection has been a big thing, a big topic of conversation lately
Yeah,
for me, of the perfectly imperfect.
yeah, yeah. And when we can be perfectly imperfect, we're fine. It's good. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't always have to work that way. You know what's important to you?
Ah, gosh. Impacting people's lives, basically loving myself and loving others, and basically knowing that I'm doing my best to be my grandest self, so that I can also like have that affect other people positively.
Yeah.
That's important to me.
Why is it so important that you impact people?
Because we're all connected.
Okay.
I mean, we're really all one. And even though we're in separate bodies, I mean, this is my belief. Even though we're all in separate bodies, we're all connected, and we all affect each other. And I noticed in the past that when I was in a different energy, more of a victim-y kind of consciousness, where you know I had high expectations of everybody else, and everybody was disappointing me because they didn't know my expectations. It was a different energy, and so it was affecting people, not in such a good way. And then so it's just knowing that I can walk away from someone, having them feel better for the interaction, lights me up. And then it's like, then I can go on to someone else and light them up. And they go on to someone and they light someone else up, and so on and so on and so on.
So you're like one big light that's just lighting up like a Johnny Apple light. I like
I
that.
am light. I am light.
I
I
love
am
that.
light. I am love.
So what would happen? And I love this because I think a lot of people feel what you feel, and I think a lot of people would like to be in that situation where they know they're living their life with a purpose, and their purpose is impacting people, and they leave people a little bit better than they found them, right?
Yeah.
And yet, for clarity, what I'd love to know for the people that are here listening to us with the same thing, sometimes for me at least, when it's important for me to impact you, I don't impact you as much as when I'm just myself. And I don't try to impact you. I just love you. And whatever happens, happens. Whether you have every right to take my love or not take my love. I can't control what you do with it. But if I just love you, and I don't worry about having impact on you, it feels like something happens. And if it doesn't happen, I'm not disappointed. How
Yeah.
are you with that?
Okay, that's something that took me a while to understand, the whole not being attached to the outcome, which is learning to be me and not, it's not like, it's like this overall intention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not like I am going and saying like, okay, I'm going to talk to Daniel and I'm going to impact him. It's just, I have no control over how you're going to receive me. And I know that. And I understand that. However, it's like how I'm just going to show up and be my most authentic self the best I can. And I pray that I set the intention that it will be beneficial for you in the way
Thank
that
you.
it's meant to be. And I give that up.
Thank you. That's nice. And and just to sit on it one more second and then we'll walk away. We impact people whether we plan to intentionally or not, because we are connected. I agree with you. And so we don't have to worry about impacting people. All we have to feel is how can we be as true to ourselves as possible? How can we show up as real and vulnerable as we are? Sometimes I'm most impacted by a person that's going through tremendous amounts of pain because it gives me a chance to just reach out and love them. That if they were to try to impact me in a positive way, I would have lost that opportunity to do it because they wouldn't have been able to because they are in pain. And so I love the idea of just having this open space for people not to have to be anything more than they are, just to be who they are. And when they're in pain, they're in pain. And I love them because of their pain, the pain they're going through. And when they're in pleasure, they're in pleasure. And I love them for the pleasure that they bring. That one
That's a
sound
great
and the
point.
other is not all that different.
I think to put another layer on it, it's like a lot of words that sometimes, like, the meaning to me is maybe not exactly the same meaning to you.
Yeah.
And then to suddenly answer that question, I'm just going like with my first instinct of what
Right.
comes to mind. And there are so many other things that are important to me, like spending time painting, creating art that is beneficial to other people, that affects people in a positive way. So it's like an overall like umbrella of knowing that, like, in this lifetime i'm I'm leaving a positive mark.
And do you feel you are leaving a positive mark?
I feel I am, and I feel the more that I grow and I go inside myself to love myself more and appreciate myself more and not feel like I have to do anything to prove myself,
Yeah.
but just to be. And like you said, not worry about whether I'm impacting anyone or not. But I will say that when someone sends me a message of saying like, oh wow, that video you did really, really, really struck a chord in me, I love that. You know what
Of
I mean?
course. Of
So,
course.
or when someone says, oh, I love your painting, I'm like, oh my gosh, that feels so amazing to me. So it's nice to know that, like, the things that I do has a trickle effect.
Totally. But everybody wants to be appreciated, right? Everybody loves. But it's interesting because when you painted the painting, you might have had the intention to impact somebody, but maybe not that person. Maybe you just set the intention that I want the painting to speak to people. Or maybe when you did the video, you said, I want the video to speak to people. And the people that are drawn to it are drawn to it. And then they're going to come to you and they're going to say, wow, that was great, right? So part of what I'm trying to do is in my own life, and I'm just guessing and throwing it over the net to see how you respond to it, is
I love it.
like when I take the burden off of myself of having to impact somebody in a certain way, and I just live my life the way I live my life, it will impact people. And if I live my life in a pure and good way, it'll impact people in whatever way it impacts people. And if it doesn't impact anybody, it's impacted me because I'm living the life that I'm choosing to live, and I'm happy living the life that I'm living. And I think we burden ourselves with this responsibility that is unsustainable after a while, because we end up feeling like, boy, I didn't impact enough people. And even if 1,000 people tell me I did a great job, why I want 5,000 people to tell me, or 10,000 people. And it's a never ending carrot at the end of a stick that
Oh,
seems
wow. Yeah.
to drive us to not being good enough. And we are good enough.
Mm. Yes. Thank you for saying that, because, I mean, I think that we're all like, well, I can only speak for myself, been on this journey of letting go of judgment, letting go of the self-criticism, and forgiving myself for being so hard on myself, or feeling like I have to do more to be worthy of this or that. And that's why, like, I love conversations with people, because I love finding that connection of, like, we're not alone. We're all kind of almost going through similar things in some way, shape, or form. I feel like pretty much everybody at some point has dealt with the same kind of core wounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then sharing it, it's like, oh, wow, like, I totally relate to that, and blah, 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 blah. But I'm like you in a way that I love meeting new people, and I love finding the connection with a stranger. And it's like magic.
Yeah.
It's really can be so magical. And I have so many great stories of meeting people on trains, and one of having like so many connections that were just so synchronistic. And so that's one of the reasons I really wanted to do this, is
I
because
love
I
it.
feel like, I was so excited for when you were going to maybe come up in this area
Yes.
and all that. And then the COVID hit, and, it's a lot about, making lemonades out of lemons too.
Yeah. And I hope that one day I still will get back on that journey and do it when it's
Yeah.
safe and it's good and it's right, because I feel called
Yeah.
still to do it. But this has shown me that I don't have to travel around the world to travel around the world. I've talked in
Yeah.
this room from people in every continent that exists on the planet. And I love that, because it's just here in the luxury of my own sitting chair. I can go
Yeah.
everywhere around the world and see people, and I can't hug them and hold them and hold them while they cry, or hug them while they give them love like that. But energy is bigger than just this, and people can feel the energy past the conversation and through the conversation. And people that I don't even need, as I said to you before, are just saying they're having experiences. So something bigger is happening than what we see. And what the Mosaic's bottom line statement is that nothing is as it seems. Nothing is as it
Oh
seems.
my God. So true. So true.
So let's go back. What makes you happy?
Oh, so many things. Well, I'm painting, dancing, just being free, just kind of being free. Like, I love to exercise and sing. I love to sing, uh, express. I love long, great conversations with people, um, and I love connecting, just, and also just, reading a good book sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm more of an audible person than I am like a reader.
Yeah.
But I love your book because you have all that art in it too.
Thank you.
And it's really inspired me too. But anyway, yeah, creating, expressing, they make me happy. And being heard, being able to be myself, my authentic self, and being heard and received, that, oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's an amazing feeling. By the way, just so you know, by the middle of October, I have recorded the Mosaic. It should be available on Amazon, hopefully by the middle of October, so you can have an
That's
audio.
exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
When you look at the world, do you feel people listen to each other?
Sometimes, sometimes, yes, sometimes I think people mostly listen through the filter of their own experience. And I don't think that they always hear the words. I think and I'm also speaking from experience too. I feel that a lot of times it's not just about the words and the listening, but I think a lot of people are distracted. I think that they're listening also for what they want to hear. I don't, it's, it's an interesting question with a multi-layered answer because I think there are some really amazing listeners
Yeah.
out there, and listening has many layers. So it's, you have that, like, I can't remember, but like the different layers of listening where you're listening to the whole, like to everything, or you're listening on that primal level,
Yeah.
So I think, but I do feel like people listen a lot of the times through the filter of their own experience, and they're not always hearing what the other person is truly saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more of an energy than the words.
Yeah. In one of my favorite songs growing up in the 60s, Simon and Garfunkel sang a song called Sounds of Silence. And
Ah!
one of the lines was, people listening without hearing, people speaking without listening, people
I
singing
remember that
songs
song.
that no one will ever hear. And so I wondered, because even back then, people listening without hearing, it seems to sum up to me a lot of the experiences of the world that we live in. What do you think it would take for people to really listen and hear?
I really feel like it's really about people opening their hearts. I really feel like it's about people having more compassion and calming, being able to like meditate. And that's, um, honestly, like, listening was not, it was something that was hard for me.
Yeah.
So wanting to listen, having a desire to listen, I think is big. Wanting to actually listen to the person, I think, is having people really want to listen to people. And I think I can go on and on.
Why do you think it's so hard? And why do you think people don't have any desire to listen?
I feel that people get caught in the stories of their head. I feel that people can be really busy and distracted, and they have like the dialogue of like whatever is happening, that it might be hard for them to slow down, or maybe they don't think they have the time, or I think they're just sometimes maybe just so just in that fight or flight, especially now.
Yeah.
Um, and it's, there's so many different people going through awakenings at the same time, that there are people that are not. So it's so hard to say, because we have so many. I feel like it's, we have the polarity thing going on. So you have, and so I think a lot of people are struggling with what's happening, that
Yeah.
they don't maybe know who to listen to.
Yeah. So let's take it from the cosmos, because there are so many different dimensions of listening and so many different people in different stages of listening and different awakenings and stuff, to you personally. Do you listen more now than you did before? Because you said before it was hard for you to listen. How are you at listening now? Is it hard or easy?
Right now, it's easy
Right
because
now
I'm
in
like,
this room, or
this
right
room
now?
right now.
So what makes
No,
it easy for you right now in this room to listen?
uh, it's really a desire and an intention. It's like really cutting out the distractions, because I've struggled with the ADD thing. Um, and it's wanting to, like, this is an important moment right now, that nothing else matters. So it's important for me to be 100% present more now than ever. In general, too, I feel like
Yeah.
having that feeling of presence is being able to savor that. And once it's over, then it's like, I don't want to miss a heartbeat
Yeah.
on it.
So can you take the feeling that you have in this room right now and translate it into the next conversation pretty easily? And can you do it in the conversation after that, and continue to do it in conversations after that?
I I think it's hard to know, because something could change
What would change?
where
What would change that would make it hard for you to do that?
um well, sometimes I need to go inward and then refresh, replenish, and then go back out, because you know what I mean? I have to also maintain my energy. So, but then I could go back out, if that makes sense.
It makes sense to me, but I want people to understand it. So I would like you, if you can, to dive deeper into that, because there might be some,
Okay.
like there, here's the question I would love you to answer.
Okay.
Okay. I've never been a good listener until about a year ago. And I decided that that I was missing out on everything in the world, because I know what I believe. I know what I think. And I was finding that the most innovative moments are when I talk to someone who believes differently than I. And the only way I was going to do that is by listening to people who don't think like I think. And I started to search out those conversations. Not that I avoided the people who think like I think, but I wanted to press people to see what they think, and be free enough to tell me what they think. And what I found is this sort of fountain of energy, that the more I listened, the more it filled me. And the more that I allowed it to fill me, the more I was able to love and listen more. And that there was certainly a giving and a receiving that were happening at the same time in the process of listening. Because when I listened without agenda, I was giving the space for people to speak with whatever they wanted to say, and listening to what they said. So there was a give and take that was happening not even a take really, a give and receive at the same moment. And it became energizing because what normally happens is I would give and then I wouldn't receive. And so I would be blocked here. Or I would receive and I wouldn't give and I would be blocked here. But now the energy was just continually moving like this, and it was getting bigger and bigger. And the more I did it, the momentum was getting faster and faster, and the energy was getting stronger and stronger. And the more it was able to go beyond the conversations we were having to the walls of other rooms. Does any of that make sense to you?
Yeah, now it does. Yeah. I haven't really given that much thought. So now that you're saying that, it's like, oh, okay. I was not a great listener. And my father would say things to me like he was really trying to teach me how to become a better listener. But what he did teach me, but I also remember someone saying, I already know, like you said, I already know what I think. It's more interesting for me to hear what other people think.
Yeah.
And then, and oh, what was the other one? I don't learn anything by talking. I learn from listening to what other people have to say. So then I was like, ooh, I don't, I want to learn. I don't want to just keep hearing myself talk.
Right.
I mean, granted, I like to hear myself talk. But when I could feel that all I was doing was um, talking and talking and talking, not giving the other person a space, I realized that the energy was not flowing and it wasn't beneficial to the other person either. So, and this has been a lesson with my husband too, is the interrupting. I was getting so frustrated with being interrupted, and then I realized I was interrupting him, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's mirroring me. We got to shift this. And so, anyway, so all these little things were coming together, and I realized that, like, as I'm learning from each conversation and it's going, I want to like have that spread into other conversations.
Love
But
it.
I now that you brought that up, I'm like, oh, I want to be more intentional about it.
Hmm.
I don't know if I answered the question
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. No, you answered. What What to you is the greatest thing you've learned from listening?
Ah,
Or one of the greatest. You don't have to.
I feel like one of the greatest things I learned from listening is how alike we all are, more than we think we are.
Hmm.
And how we all have something to contribute to each other.
So you're a real spokeswoman for the Mosaic. You know that's sort of what the Mosaic says. I love that.
That's why I love the book so much, because I feel like you wrote my book. Like I was like, I was like, I want to write, I want to create an actual mosaic, and then like I keep going back and forth because what you wrote about is what I've been talking about in my videos about my art.
Wow, I love that.
So
How so? Tell me what that. Tell me how that is.
well, okay. So one of the things is I should send you this video that I did. Where I talk about the painting, like the painting is our life. And like each, you start out, you have like this blank canvas, you always get to have this blank canvas and you can just keep adding to it and adding to it, and all these layers. All these layers are you, and then you can like smudge and you can move things around, and then you can all of a sudden see different things come through. And then even when you make a mistake, all of a sudden you like add another layer, and it's not really a mistake anymore. It's just another piece, another layer, and then all of a sudden you're able to see something else that you weren't able to see before. So it's just like this, and then so it's like every conversation that you're having reveals like something that you didn't think about before until that conversation with that person is all of a sudden like you're having this dialogue, and this idea that you had that you're expressing or they're expressing takes on like you're talking about it, and you're each contributing to that idea and putting that energy out, and then it becomes something else.
Love that.
And then so and and it's like where like the things that you said in the book of kind of muddled in with the things that I remember about what I talked about, that it's hard to even differentiate which was in the book and which was things I said also, because it's all like now part of the universal collective consciousness.
Yeah, I love that. I would love to see you create opportunities for people to paint that way. And I would love to highlight it on what I'm doing too as well, because what a beautiful, my mosaics are mosaics of words and feelings, but your mosaic is mosaics of pictures and painting and art. And there was another woman that spoke to me about the way she dances as a mosaic to her. And I would love to start to bring together a lot of different forms, because all of it's mosaic.
Exactly. It's funny because I started working on different paintings, and they're all, I don't really know what they're about, to be honest with you. And it's because a lot of them are really energy. They're really just about energy and the energy of color. And then all of a sudden it's like you look at it and then you're like, oh, that's interesting. And everybody sees something different.
Yeah.
And so what was my point? Oh, so the mosaic, you know, sometimes I lose track of
That's all right.
where I'm talking about. And because I think I'm talking about one thing and all of a sudden it changes over. Something I had to embrace about myself is that. But yeah, the artwork keeps changing too.
Yeah.
So, and oh, you mentioned something about the art. So, something I've been having a dialogue with people about is that sometimes while I'm painting, I'll be talking on the phone with a friend, and I'm just kind of painting very lightly, but I'm talking on the phone. So, I've been noticing things that are happening with the painting while I talk on the phone. If I'm talking about something that's very uplifting and very, I don't know, like kind of spiritual in nature, where, we're contemplating something about what's going on with us and our thoughts and all that. Because I don't talk about small talk.
Right.
I don't know how to
Right.
do small talk.
Yeah.
And so we talk about the things that are going on with us, and like gene keys and astrology and consciousness and stuff like that. Then I look at the painting, and we look at our paintings, we're like, wow, look what happened. And it's like this energy thing happened,
Oh,
where like the energy of our conversation, like we're then painting subconsciously because we're so much more focused on the conversation than the painting, that the painting is different than
I
if
love
I
that.
were to just be painting by myself.
I love that.
So I've been experimenting and wanting to do more with this, of like painting conversations and seeing what happens when I'm having a conversation with someone I don't know as
Mhm.
much, and how we can like um, let things kind of flow and see what happens.
That's neat. Hey, we're winding down, so I just want to ask you a few more questions.
Yeah.
What are you most scared of?
Mm. I think not living to my full potential and being doing what I came here to do.
What would happen if you didn't live to your full potential and do what you came to do?
I think I would be I think I would be very sad to know that like I missed an opportunity to be who all I came here to be and do everything that like to really get the most out of this life.
Hmm.
I just
What if
I
missing
don't
the
really think about that
what if missing
much.
the opportunity to do what you came to do was the lesson you most needed to learn?
I love the question, what if? Um, then I would be able to accept that because I believe that everything can be a lesson.
Yeah. It's so interesting because part of what I think happens when I speak to people is that I remove the pressure of their own mind off of their life. Because most of what I find I worry about is just things that I put onto myself that may or may not ever need to happen or not happen. And maybe I think my purpose is over here when really my purpose is coming to peace with the fact that I might not do everything that I meant to do. Maybe that's my purpose. Who knows? I'm just an old
I
fat guy
know.
in California, right? So on the same hand, what do you hope most will change in the world?
I want to see more peace and more love between people. And I want for more people to wake up out of the fog
So if you had
so
a
that we,
magic, I'm sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
no, it's fine. Yeah.
If you had a magic wand in your hand and you could do that, what would you do?
Uh, uh, I really, if I had a magic wand, I would just want to like open people's hearts more and how for people to forgive each other. I would want people to have a heart of forgiveness because I think forgiveness is keeping people, not forgiving is keeping a lot of people in their own pain.
If you took that magic wand and rubbed it and swung it over your own self, what do you hope it would do for you?
For it to expand my love light even more onto people around me, like all around the world, and for people to feel it.
Love that.
And for people to just feel like okay to be their authentic self, really.
I love when a conversation comes around and comes full circle. Right? Because we started out by talking about how sometimes you don't feel okay to feel yourself. Right? I think at least that's what I remember it being. Um, Dina, as we wrap up, if you had 2 minutes to share a message with the world that was listening to you, what would you want to say to it?
Love yourself as you want everyone you love to be loved. And love everybody else the same as you want to be loved. And you don't have to be wrong for someone else to be right. And you don't have to be right for somebody else to be wrong.
Love that. I love that. Dina, we're going to have all of your social
Nuggets.
media, we're going to have all your social media links and your website on the show notes, because I'm going to ask you to send those to me with a
Yes.
headshot of yourself. And but if people wanted to know the surefire way, this is the place I always check. What would be the place to, how would people contact you?
I would say through my Facebook, Dina Ziskin-Fortune, and it's
We'll have it. We'll have the show link. We'll have it linked there,
yeah,
so people don't have to worry about
yeah.
spelling it off.
Facebook Messenger is like really the way to go.
Cool. Cool. I want to thank you for taking the time to be here with me, for opening up and being so vulnerable and honest and real. I want to thank you for who you are and for what you bring to the world and the impact you have, whether you see it or don't. I'm happy. I'm proud to know you, and I appreciate the impact you bring. And for those of you who are,
Thank you for having me.
absolutely, for those of you who are listening, I want to thank you for coming. You've given me the most valuable asset of your time, and that's your time. And you've taken time out to listen to what we're doing here. And if you like the conversation, share it with people that you like. That's what we do. When we like something, we tell people we liked it. So do the same here. And that way, strangers who are strangers 1 minute become friends that we start to share with other friends. And I love that possibility, that because when we live in a world of strangers, the world's a strange place. But look how long it took for Dina and I to become friends. Not very long. And so how much time did we invest in that to become friends? And when you invest that time, what happens is suddenly you're living in a world of friends, and the world becomes a friendlier place. I think we'd all enjoy a friendlier world right now. I think we can impact the world in the way Dina talks about impacting the world, by befriending the world and befriending the people in it. So I want to ask you to do what I do at the end of every show and give you a challenge. And I want you to let me know that you've done it. I want you to find someone you don't know and just walk up to them and ask them how they're doing. Just like we've done in this room. You don't need to fix them. You don't need to change them. You don't need to correct them. You don't need to guide them or lead them or help them or elevate them or convert them. All I'd like you to do is just ask them how they're doing and just listen to them and hold the space for them to tell you. Who knows? A stranger today might be a friend tomorrow. And we would create one by one, each of us, a friendlier place to live in. Dina, is there one last thing you want to say before we leave?
I'm just so grateful to be here and to have met you, and for your book and all you're doing, and giving me the opportunity to share this moment.
That's so kind of you. It's my honor. I'm happy to get to share you with the world that I know. So if people want to see your artwork, they can see that on your website. Is that true?
Well, I don't have an official website
Okay.
yet.
All right.
I have a Facebook page.
So how would they see your artwork? Is it on your Facebook page?
It's on my Facebook page, and I have another Facebook page called The Fortunate Painter.
Okay.
Fortunate Painter. And I have an Instagram page called Soul Butterfly Rising.
Okay, so
because I had to make things fun.
okay, so you'll send me all those links, and so people,
Yeah.
and if people like your artwork, I'm sure they can purchase it. I'm sure. So
Yeah.
that would fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you again for being here, folks. Thank you for coming. Until the next stranger walks into this room, be kind to each other. Take time to get to know each other. Befriend someone you don't know and just walk up to them and ask them how they're doing for no reason other than you love it. I put a post on Facebook that got probably the most responses I've ever gotten, and it says, You don't know me, but I love you. And you might think it's strange that I love you. But if people can hate for no reason, I can love for no reason. And so why don't you love for no reason? And just reach out to somebody and love them. And while you're at it, do the same to yourself. Until the next time we sit together, be kind, be loving, be safe, be happy. And we'll see you in the next time. We'll see you in this room the next time a stranger walks in. Ciao.